Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Veil background information. This time it's another Angels and Demons one, and as I should explain, how these things work is I discuss Angels and Demons that become part of my my Beyond the Veil fiction. So they can be background characters or reference characters, or when I'm actually writing my angel or demon stories, they tend to have more of a role. So what I do is I give you the information, the background information I researched about them, and then I'll give you the profile for how they appear in my writing. So that's how it works, yeah. So this time we're doing about the Archangel Phanael, and of course I always start this with a quote from one of the stories that they're in, or they're mentioned in, just to show why they've turned up. As Phanael was brought out of the courtroom, he felt the hand upon his shoulder from Phanael, the angel that would defend him like he did all souls. For a moment, Phanael looked towards one of the greatest warrior angels of their realm, one of the many to have faced the demons and to have taken down the likes of Mammon in the battle. He looked at the wise big eyes on the being, the colour of the earth, with hair that flew behind him like fire, streaked black at its roots to make him more beautiful and fearsome than even Uriel. With him at his side, Phanael was sure that the trial would be fair, and that Phanael would believe him. From cruel temptations, meaning the face of God, and arguably confused between Remiel, and Uriel. Phanael is the Archangel of Penance, and one of the four, along with Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, angels of the presence. Now there are a lot of spellings and misspellings of this name, from Phanael, which is A-E-L, to Phanuel, which is U-E-L, to Phanael, which is M-A-E-L, Phanuel with an F, Phanael, Penwell, and even Orpheal. In my spelling, I use the Phan, PH, and Ale, AEL, to link to Michael and Raphael's names. But of course, you use what you like. He is an angel venerated in Judaism, Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. You can see on the Wikipedia page, for example, a depiction of him from a text which invokes the angel to help ward off evils. Phanael is predominantly mentioned in the Book of Enoch, and here he has various aspects of his role, which include fending off Satan's adversaries or accusers, and forbidding them to come before the Lord of Spirits to accuse them who dwell on the earth. Enoch chapter 40.7. He also gets identified as the shepherd character in a Christian text titled Shepherd of Hermas, wherein his role as the angel of penance comes forward. But his role in Enoch's work is where most of the information on this angel comes from, and because he expels the demons from the Lord's presence, he's often linked as an archangel of exorcism, and hence his name may have been included on early Hebrew amulets to ward off evil. However, as with many of the angels, aside from Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael generally, the changes and variances in the name and interpretations on numbers of archangels and positions mean that Phanael and Uriel tend to get merged together, particularly in later Judaism. Indeed, even when you look into the basics of the 7 main archangels most accepted, Uriel is present but not Phanael. Even though Enoch does make them separate with their names having different meanings, it's also in later works that Phanael is equated with Ramiel, also equated with Jeremiel, or Remiel. Apologies for bad pronunciation. It's spelled Hieremihel, and Eremiel. It's an aspect that when I will talk about other angels I use later in these tends to turn up a lot, and indeed the same with some demons, but for writers provides more room to play around. One of the other places where we do have a mention of Phanael, I tend to call him both, I'll be honest, and I like this mention, is in the Sibylline Oracles, where he is one of the given angels who know all the evils that men have wrought. It was this aspect that made me focus on Phanael as a member of the Mastemma Court in my tales, particularly when he's also referenced as an angel of judgment. But despite what you could say was quite an important role, there's not much else about him, but I hope this has been interesting enough, as I will now talk about my interpretation. I will say with Phanael or Phanael, I tend to refer to them as he, but as said before, angels don't have gender in my universe, so I apologise. So apologies, I use he this time when I talk about him. Name, Phanael. Position, angelic lawyer, defender of souls. Story featured in Cruel Temptations. Role, Archangel. Gender, agender, often seen more as male. Description, often seen with large knowing eyes that can look into the very being and judge them. His body and hair are all mixed with fire, just like his fourth brother Uriel, and he appears darker skinned more often, with flaming red hair with black roots and streaks that make him stand out. He is not overly muscular when he appears, androgynous in the face, and yet he gives off an aura of understanding, like a counsellor or a favoured teacher. Realm. Heaven and the Mastemma Court. Abilities. He can read and judge the souls of all beings. He can expel any demon straight back to hell with just a command or lifting of his hand. He can summon a fire of purity to cleanse away the damages of dark thoughts, and his name alone can prevent demons from trying to possess. He can also read through all eyes and will stand in front of demons regularly without fear of being harmed. His wings are made of pure fire, so demons cannot touch them. Master the Almighty. Personality. Wise, firm, steadfast, but understanding. Despite his high position and great ability, there is nothing but compassion and willingness to listen when Phanael is around. If someone believes they are doing something right, and they need to fight off the dark thoughts and hesitations, his hand to the shoulder can aid in giving confidence, and he has a great love of humanity. He can see all the wrongs man has done, but he can locate their remorse, guilt, and encourage them that the truth and simple apologies can do wonders. He encourages people to repent and reach out to help reduce the suffering of others, and is the first archangel that all souls will meet upon death, and always he is gracious and welcoming. He adores the fact that every human has a unique story and experiences things differently, and he embraces all of these differences. Relations. Uriel. His brother in thought, they were made of the same fire of protection, and so they are often referred to as the heavenly twins by later angels. The pair are in tune with one another's thoughts, and where Uriel goes out in the world to help the living souls, Phanael deals with the souls of the departed, continuing the role. They are so alike that when in heaven at the same time they have been confused, but they are both cheerful and content with being called the other. Mastemma. Phanael enjoys Mastemma and his folks. He was eager to work with them to help judge humans, and he is always intrigued by the fact Mastemma can be so unbiased and wise. Phanael can sometimes do random things at times when he has a rare trip to the human world, and suddenly returns with gifts for him, and sometimes can baby Mastemma, though not very often, as he's aware it means Tammuz will get frustrated. Tammuz. Phanael understands that this demon is meant to be his opposite number, but often Phanael finds himself wanting to clap his hands as if he's watching an actor, or to praise his ability to fight. He is amused that despite Tammuz working for hell, when he really fights, it can help Phanael prove when a human has done something remarkable or more, and so he cannot help but adore the demon despite himself. Kasbeel, an angel that used to be around Phanael a lot, helping him learn the truths of the universe. When Kasbeel turned against the Almighty, Phanael was very upset, and during the battle could not help but attempt hug therapy upon the being. Kasbeel is unfortunate in being a big joke and considered the baby of the fallen angels, never gaining enough respect and being treated generally as benign by the angels. When someone calls out Phanael's name, she hides, but only because, as he's the only angel able to touch the fallen, he tends to hug her automatically, and Tammuz abandons her to it. Mammon. Having taken him down in battle, Mammon is quite scared of Phanael, but uses his powers to ensure that as many humans as possible are infected by his avarice, something that Phanael is barely able to defend, but will still fight hard to find a redeeming quality against it. History. Born of the same thought of the Almighty of purifying fire, Phanael and Uriel were born together and always together in the early years of creation. They would sit the eldest of many angels that would read the truths of the universe as dictated by the Almighty, and was one of the first to meet Adam at his development and bow to him as God's greatest. Phanael was then taught to watch the actions of Adam and learn about him, learn how he was different to the animals, and he did so for the other humans starting to evolve outside of Eden to reach perfection close to Adam's. He loved to watch them develop and was happy to learn until Lucifer rebelled. He stood alongside Uriel and Gabriel to fight the demons, and just as Uriel, Phanael became one of the better fighters, knocking down many of the fallen, including the likes of Mammon, battling with his sword against the figure's trident. He and Uriel took out swathes of the fallen before Michael and Lucifer went head to head. When they were cast out, Uriel and Phanael knew that the fate of man was in danger of corruption, and yet they could do nothing. When the Watchers committed their sins, Phanael was sent with the others to cull the Nephilim, his abilities as a warrior still great enough to terrify the demons, but when he was beseeched by Samael for a work of the Almighty, he obeyed. With the world of men washed clean, Phanael could see that where the demons would avoid him, and so he went to the faithful and lent them his name to hold back the dangers that were out there, and to use it as a way to prevent Phanael and Mastemma from testing them. He remained fighting demons when humans called out to him and meeting them at death, having to divide them initially between heaven, hell, soul cycle, and purgatory. But he became unsure if he could judge well enough, and so he sought the Almighty's advice, and with Mastemma being a better judge, the Mastemma Court was created. Phanael then was given the job to defend all souls for the chance of penance, paradise, or a chance to try it all over again, rather than have them sent to hell. This is where he remains. Final comments. I like Phanael. I like that in the Mastemma Court it's such neutral ground that you could almost say that Phanael thinks he's friends with Kasbeel and Tammuz. But I like that Phanael is such a fearsome warrior, but clearly is protective of people. With him and Uriel in my own thoughts and feelings of these beings, I feel that they are not as domineering as Michael and certainly nice to humans. I tend to think too that Phanael is the teacher at school that kneels down and tells the kids to stand together, apologise and hug to make it better when they've had a fight. And that's the end of Phanael. Next month I'm going to be doing about Kasbeel, so you get to understand why they're treated like a baby. And the brief little bits of information about them as well. But thank you for listening, and something that I've now got to try and do is encourage you to understand that my stories go up on Patreon, and if you want to read these stories as they come out, sponsor me on Patreon, obviously. There's a lot of stuff on there with my Beyond the Veil universe. I update my Viper fan stories especially regularly, in fact up to publication dates they get updated, and also other works that I'm doing tend to be on there, so it's worth a look. There's links in the bottom, although for some weird reason I can't get them to actually hyperlink, but have a look at the links in the bottom. There'll be a link to the script and everything. So thank you very much. Bye.